I think everybody's got a little bit.
Everybody except Josh is
Everybody's
spoken.
been
Yeah.
Josh just said he's got the live stream ready.
Sorry.
I like that, and
He's the
that's
undercover
important.
police officer.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's afraid all this fracking buddies will find out.
It should be
No,
a
crack
right
wall,
all
I
of
like
us,
that.
that everybody get to speak. And, because there's so much that's so important. You said that, since we sat down together.
Yeah, I'm talking.
Okay, I'm sorry, but, yeah, I just wanted to meet, like I said, Michael, we've been liking stuff and following, and it's just really cool to put faces, you know, to these names and stuff. But, you know, we can use almost anything as an example, you know, of how we can do but what we need is meetings to grow the numbers. And that's where, you know, I personally I take an interest in this. I'd love to get out and gadabout.
Has Occupy ever gone over to Ohio State?
Pardon me?
Has anybody from Occupy gone over to Ohio State and talked to some of the groups?
Yeah,
and
I
some of the
know a number of
organizations?
them, and I think,
Yeah,
some of
because-
us here know some of them
Because
overshoot.
if Ohio State can be utilized for within Occupy Columbus, then when those people graduate and go off to other places, they're gonna have the whole Occupy mentality.
Yeah, they have a little chapter called Occupy Mobile.
Yeah.
That's their little organization they have there. And a couple of times we have worked together, I think, like we've
Coordinated.
joined their street protests when they were going down on High Street.
Okay.
I don't remember if it was for the tuition reduction or what it was, something they had. And I think they were not given permission to do any protests there, but they were allowed to. The street didn't have any rules against walking, crossing, so they were
Right.
consistently crossing the street and back and forth and trying to keep that going. But yeah, we've joined them on a couple of occasions. They've come and joined us in the past.
Sure, and uniting the colleges should be, you know, just a message.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I know part of why we came here, we have some really good messaging to bring to you regarding some of the things that we're doing right at our city level, where people did make a difference, where people did take that challenge. They challenged our local government, with good facts, you know, just being courteous. I mean, just very simple stuff, but we were able to get our, you know, the city council, and Heidi can tell you a lot more about that.
Which I think is amazing. You know, you can
This is
go to the city
all-
council,
yeah.
have the city council listen to you. I mean,
It's huge.
It's so different. Dynamics could be different.
We can
Yeah.
affect it. I spent many years in Columbus. Columbus has now changed the rules dramatically to the point where, you know, our First Amendment right, our 14th Amendment rights, things are just being, squashed, and that can't happen.
This is
And
the
we're
same
being-
way in Toledo City Council.
Well, the bigger cities, and fine, Cleveland's faced with it. So, and this is where we, as a united force across the state, being good friends, breaking bread together, and building trust with whom we're hanging out with, and working with, this is a real problem. These things have to be snapped. I mean,
Yeah, so one of the main points that you're making is that you, I think that we need to focus this year on not attacking,
It's
but,
not just
but
me.
dealing with city council, at a city council level, and
Local
try to get
level
them
is
to be responsive to what the people want, because city council is just another example of what's going on in Washington,
Right.
in
Whether
the
it's
state,
our-
where they just are in their own little cocoon, and they really don't know what's going on.
Okay.
No, we're
No,
just talking
we're
about
talking about
overall.
city government, city council.
City-
We've got chapter 906 in Columbus, in which that's how we got rid of us by creating a whole chapter of law.
We've got the same thing in Toledo. No signs in the council chambers, no speaking unless you're officially recognized by a council member. An example of, for you guys, I mean, we don't have fracking going on in northwest Ohio, yet, not in this area.
we already
Yeah.
have the toxic waste that's being dumped
Right.
in our.
We've got trailing,
injection wells, yeah, which is
we've
worse.
got radioactive trailings that are being.
Right,
dumped,
radioactivity is just one issue.
and we've
sure.
got, Davis Bessie right down the road, and we've got Permy 2 right up the way. We have a city council member who's a Democrat that last October 1st spoke at an anti-nuclear rally about Davis Bessie particularly, said he was an anti-nuclear guy, said that he would, or help us get a resolution on Davis Bessie through city council. Then he became muted by the Democratic machine, he's a Democrat. And one of the ideas that I had, this guy used to claim that he ran, the first time he ran as a school board candidate as a Green, he claimed that he claims even he came to Occupy meetings, he was at the first Occupy demonstration, he said he was a kind of a contradiction because he was an anarchist and a city councilor, this guy. He's completely unresponsive to the needs of this social movement, and he's an elected official. And so to me, I see pressuring these elected officials as something that is very important to do, not just giving them a free ride or saying that they're untouchable. I suggested we occupy this guy's house, his front yard. He, set up tents in his yard and bring attention to the fact that this guy is not responding to our needs, that nobody on our city council is. In fact, they're condescending to us and, completely dismissive.
That's what they did to us in Columbus too.
Instead of our elected officials. But your point is good. We've got a few of those on all the city council. These people need to be called out.
Yeah.
Because they're preventing change.
Okay.
There's a lot of things I could say about that as a candidate for city council in Toledo, and probably the future candidate for city council. The experience that we've gotten, when we try to get the resolution passed for Davis Bessie, a few of us, including Terry Lodge, who's a local lawyer with the National Lawyers Guild, drafted a resolution which was demanding higher safety from considerations from them, which is still not even that radical. It's just in light of the cracks that appeared on it. It later came back in completely gutted form, basically pleading with them and thanking them so much for their safety record. This is because Davis Bessie provides jobs and because there's an economic interest there. The PAC donates money to many city council members and nobody wants to rock the boat. You can pressure Steve Steele all you want, he's not going to change. That will do absolutely nothing. It will maybe embarrass him a little bit, and then he will
Create tension. And we can't just, right now we're giving our entire city government a free ride in this city.
That's going to be independent. I don't think we can have that much influence in that regard, because every time they're going to have a soundbite they can put out to the press that says, Davis Bessie is beyond our jurisdiction. It's not even in our county. Here's the strategy. If it's not blaming the other party, it's blaming the other branch. It's if you're on city council and you're legislative, well, it's the mayor's thing. He's holding everything up. If it's the mayor, he's going to blame city council, the legislative branch. Schools do that. Happens on the state level, happens on the national level. Now, if it's not blaming the other party or blaming the other branch, it's blaming the chain of government. Well, that should be a state issue, not a local one. Or that should be a local issue, not a state one. You will get the ball kicked every time, and people in the public will buy it because these are people that are very good at framing things and pointing the finger. That's all they fucking do. So I don't think that pressuring politicians is where we should be devoting our energy. I think that every time it's going to be a little bit of embarrassment, it's going to create tension, but ultimately it's just going to create a lot of divide between people that are sympathetic to them and also maybe sympathetic to what we're talking about. There are ways of doing that by running candidates that will speak more truthfully against them, which is why I go that route. But I don't think that putting personal pressure on them is as effective. And I do think that you can pressure those issues more to the public by creating a demand to the public so that the public does it for you. If you're an activist with a vested interest in this, people are going to go, well, yeah, of course he's pissed off. When they see it come from random Joe Schmoes, they're like, wow, all of a sudden they care. That's when the politicians will go, okay, now I need it for votes. You're only ever going to be able to get to these elected officials by catering to their self-interest, which is what's going to get you votes. The best way to do that is generate the demand for those votes by encouraging the issue to the public.
All right, well, let me, Jamie,
Let's consider
let's just jump in one at a time, hold on.
Sorry.
You be standing.
I wasn't, but I was just saying, are we gonna start a stack? Are we
Yeah, I
gonna
think,
start a stack?
why don't you be the stack?
We can do that.
Let her be the stack.
Okay, and I was out on the phone with the dog sitter,
That's
so.
okay, Alex was
Who's
next.
next?
Alex.
I think it'd be funny to carry out a coordinated stink bomb attack on as many box stores as possible on Black Friday.
Bugs.
I think that's a great idea.
Well, it's not, maybe a bottle full of stink bugs you could drop on the ground, but I don't know, like something that would like clear everybody out, maybe, split up into small like groups of two, have them go to like a secluded area of the store and drop the stink bomb, walk out casually, and it'd be funny.
Well, you can, you can organize whatever event you want, that's fine, and there are probably groups out there.
Two
I'm not-
people
but-
could do that.
But I just want to address, what's your name
You
again?
have to do it very slyly though.
Joe? Okay,
Sean.
John.
Sean.
Oh, Sean Nestor. Sean Nestor. Nice to meet you, Sean. I just want to address your point. I think that we can take, a play from Mitt Romney's playbook and accept that there are a percentage of people, whether it be 47%, that we shouldn't worry about. And I'm saying that we should do that with, with city councils. Okay, saying this, city council in Toledo, forget about them, they're just gonna ignore us, all we're gonna do is create a little bit of embarrassment. But we've got 88 counties, and if we can find just one, that's a start. And we should try to focus our attention on those people, because I'm sure that there's gotta be a fair number of people that are gonna say, yeah, I don't want our county to become a toxic waste dump. And they can sell that. I think it's more sellable than Citizens United, which I think is just as important, but it doesn't ring with the population. We've tried, that was our focus in the first year, and people just go, what's Citizens United? Then you explain it to them, and then, oh yeah, that's really bad, Campaign finance reforms, yeah, we're tired of commercials. So,
Used to be promoter of Jamaican bands.
okay.
I was thinking about it before, but it piggybacks on what Sean was saying too, is I think one of the real powers of the Occupy movement is actually not being overly focused on electoral type of politics, standard legislative kind of things. Not that we don't do anything, but that's not where the focus is. It seems to me that what we need to do for ourselves and to inspire one another is help teach each other how to represent ourselves well. And to me, that really needs a lot of direct action. I mean, I personally do not feel much inclination to go try to yammer on with a bunch of legislators, convince them how they should change the way they think about their little fascist little codes that they put in. I think every time they put a fascist code, we should go out there and do something that violates that code, and then let the rubber hit the road.
What's an example?
I mean, I think direct action in that way is the cleanest, purest way of representing oneself. And how much clearer can you be if you've got what you consider an unjust law than to just to ignore it, to don't respect an unjust law.
The reality is, we could do that. You can do it just by putting down a check.
Jamie, hold on, no, Stan,
Sorry.
So I guess that's it for now.
Now, what's an example? I mean, if you can clarify, what would be an example of?
That would be an example if that was raised, that said in Columbus and other cities, they pass codes and laws that make it illegal or restrict the way you're able to protest. So I'm saying just protest whatever way you want. If they say it's illegal, then well, that becomes a problem for them.
I think we need juvenile and mean-spirited pranks against people we don't like.
The thing is,
I'm too old for that.
You're at the time.
I'm sorry.
Who's next?
You want to go ahead, Con?
Just a good example, you asked for example, up in New York City, banning supersized drinks. Well, let's go get our supersized drinks and, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or you take it, or you can't drink a supersized drink out there, this is just an example. So we go get our drinks and we drink them at the State House on the sidewalks, because we can.
Okay.
You're
I was next, yes.
Okay.
I just want to ask a question with respect to doing things which are protest type things and like the stinky bomb things and all that. Do we have to worry about the arrest part of it? Because I think we had some experience in Columbus where we had to bail out people and give them money to come out of the jail and all that. And they decided not to, to push it to the extent, but not to get arrested. So is that an issue? I don't know. Has any experience from here?
There are plenty of ways to cause a ruckus and get away with it. Like, if you're
Absolutely.
Smart.
Okay, yeah, that's probably the answer I was looking for. Um,
Jane Ooga.
something else, I just had one more point I wanted to make, but go ahead, Jimmy.
Okay, it's just addressing your point about, juvenile, I don't know about that, but I know that this, chapter that city council just passed in Columbus basically says you can't even put down a chair.
Right.
So, if you wanna protest, you wanna, and say that that is a a wrongful act or a bad law, then you just put down a chair and sit in front of the State House and see what happens.
That's exactly what we want to do.
It's free space.
Challenge that rule.
If you want to change, you don't have to, do anything to, that's the problem. Is, if you do something that really irritates them, you don't have to go out of your way. That's the problem.
I think it's a matter of like establishing an air of dominance, like in the animal kingdom, it's like I can do something funny and you can't do anything to get back at me. And like, I think like the Occupy movement was treated very derisively and people were really condescending when dealing with it, but I mean, might as well just go right, do the reverse back at them.
Yeah, let's not reinvent the wheel. What we're talking about is civil disobedience, and anytime a bad law is passed, you intentionally violate that law and point out and illustrate how it is basically fascist. So I think that that's a good strategy. Yes, there are legal things involved. Oftentimes they're misdemeanors. These are things that you're not necessarily going to face like a lot of jail time for. Something like a stink bomb. I mean, they can trump up charges, but it is important to keep in touch with your local activist lawyers if you have any contacts in the National Lawyers Guild to exploit them to the fullest. One such example happened in Toledo in 2005, I think it was, when after there was the city council here passed a law saying that there was a day, an anti-racist action day that was going to be planned. There was going to be a march, and they were concerned because there were riots, and so they passed a law, city council, saying that it was illegal to be in groups of larger than 2 people in public on that specific day. That is a huge fucking violation of the United States Constitution and the right to peacefully assemble. They passed it anyway. If you haven't figured it out yet, this is how the law works. People make shit up, and then, oh, well, if you have the power and the money, you can go back and challenge it, and maybe a court will be sympathetic to the true spirit of the law. It's all chaos. It's not actually as coordinated or consistent as you might think. So they can pass all sorts of bad laws. A bunch of people went and violated that, and a local lawyer here, Terry Lodge, took up, I think, 24 cases of people who were arrested for being in groups of 2 or more people on that day. Now, this is why, civil disobedience, I think it's a good thing. And yes, there's always a fear of being arrested, but you have to, I think, get over that fear if you're really serious about getting change. Because the fact of the matter is those arrests make the news, and they illustrate the stupidity of points to people in the public. People who are maybe not activist-minded will hear about it and say, that is dumb. I'm now sympathetic. And then finally, speaking to Alex's point, I agree entirely. I think part of Occupy's charm was that it was intentionally defying these bad laws in the effort to raise issues that everyone knows are bad, but everyone is afraid to champion. And that was exactly it, is that people said they had fun doing it. They had a little bit of fun. That's what will draw in your younger people. The fact that you can be an activist, but you don't have to be this solemn, serious person all the time. You can have a little bit of fun, and you can make some friends, and you might get some arrests to tell your grandkids about the process. But keeping in mind that fun-loving prankster spirit is something that we can't let go of. I think that is absolutely critical. I'm all for putting some stink bombs in the big box stores. I'll talk to you later.
I like the stink bomb idea. It's just a matter of doing it very subtly because they have cameras all over the store. So
what's the worst you're gonna face?
Oh, there'd be like crowds of people in there, if it's small and like.
they won't be able to see it.
Subtle, not stink bomb, you just kind of like drop it, nobody will
Have
notice.
a cart full of
And they go
goods.
off like
Sprinkle
after,
itching powder in all the clothes in
you have to
Walmart.
light them? Because I thought about doing that at
That's
banks.
better to
Don't
consider.
text me about, don't text the word bombs to me.
Remember,
Stink bombs, I'm like, all right, I'm not responding to this.
Now, that kind of stuff is just gonna irritate people.
well,
Stink bombs?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you.
Not a good
I mean,
idea.
it's fun,
Well,
you don't talk about it and
it
everything.
is and it isn't.
But what does it
For
actually produce? What does it actually?
Intimidation.
Chaos.
They'd have to shut down, they'd have to evacuate the stores, they would have to call in the police. If it was done synchronized, say simultaneously at, Walmart, Best Buy, and somewhere else simultaneously. They wouldn't have the law enforcement to deal with
It
it.
would terrify all the right
It
people.
would be,
The press would run with this and
It
just
would
taint
be-
us again as a bunch of
but they wouldn't know who to taint.
no, if we don't take credit for what we do.
Mr. Vic, out of turn.
Pink, you know, Mr. Blue.
Yeah, he started.
Good example, we're live right now, so
Yeah.
remember that.
So the point there, I think, is getting some kind of response, good or bad. I mean, we're not, we're not worried about how it makes someone else feel. Well, if you go ahead and you want to do the.
Well, to some extent,
Yeah, it's gonna bother people.
PR
That's
is
part of the point.
a part of what we're trying to get the people on our side, and that I think
Well, I
is
think
just
we're gonna get them interested first.
That old Wall Street thing, that was
Well,
nothing, that stink pop, that put me over the
On your
edge.
point, you just said there's 47% of those people that are gonna be casualties of, we just have to forget about it. Isn't that what you just said?
Yeah.
They're consumers at Walmart.
We're just, yeah.
Make it inconvenient to shop there.
They're probably 1% of the population that will care. And those people are the ones who are gonna turn off. The rest of them will say, I'm gonna go to Macy's, and I'm gonna go to Kroger.
Look what happened with Chick-fil-A.
And they don't really care.
Look what happened with Chick-fil-A. There was a big protest about it, and so what happened? The other side said, well, we're gonna shop there even more. And they had record profits that week, that time period, whenever they were supposed to be protesting and
That's why all press
boycotting.
is good press. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
good or bad. Sometimes it works out
about the issue.
Sean and then
the
John.
wrong way.
One of my favorite short stories is called Repent, Harlequin, said the TikTok man. It's by Harlan Ellison. It's about a dystopian future where everything is rigidly done by time. If you are late to anything, there's a guy who activates that they take minutes off your life. They know how long you're going to live, and they take it off and they kill you. And there's a guy, the TikTok man, that is in charge of all this. And it's dystopian, it's fascist, and it's like this crazy future where that's the most important thing. The character Harlequin is a guy who goes around causing inconveniences, making everyone late. He drops jelly beans so that they gum up the conveyor belt, and they cause these things. And it's like, everyone's annoyed, but it's kind of funny at the same time. Whenever you ask the question of what does this accomplish besides pissing people off, I said, is there something else to get besides pissing people off? Sometimes pissing people off is exactly the method you have to do to get things started. You're never going to make everyone happy. No matter what you do, they will deride you. Those same people, if you do something that's goofy and juvenile, they're going to say you're goofy and juvenile. If you do something that's civil disobedience, like Martin Luther King, they're going to say you're an idiot who doesn't take it far enough. If you do something violent, they're going to dismiss you as violent. You have to understand there's always going to be a contingent of people that dismiss you no matter what. Forget about them. I think that the important thing is to make a statement. We don't like Walmart, then or a big box store, you can do that. What does it accomplish? I think it annoys the people in management, and it starts to put a message that people really don't like big box stores in their mind, and that, does it accomplish any major thing? No, but sometimes messaging and framing the social feeling is what that's accomplishing. It seems so silly and stupid, and it is, but it goes so far. I mean, if you want to look at how silly and stupid can have such a huge impact.
You
on
will
people,
create
look at-
30,000 conversations by that single act.
And how else do you get conversations started about that and the nature of these things?
But is it the conversation that we want?
Any right now.
Is it,
Oh.
those
But if
many
you
occupiers-
haven't
They won't be
demonstrated-
paying attention to TV very well.
But see,
Right?
but
Stop
here's
playing
the
the
thing. You're saying, okay, the Occupy movement should get behind and do something like this. Okay, now it's done. People are talking about it, but nobody knows why it's done. Nobody knows that it's done. That it was done. So what was accomplished? Absolutely nothing. Other than people talking about, look at Walmart. Other than people talking about Walmart, which is going to encourage other people to go to Walmart.
Or use it more. I mean, a lot of people.
Loss of revenue.
There's a lot that's.
Yeah, it might turn into a Chick-fil-A, but right now.
John, you were next, and then Michael, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone mentioned the Chick-fil-A example, and my question is that was done without any arrests or anything. That was done peacefully, so to speak,
Right.
wasn't it?
And it was just a boycott. It wasn't a call to action or anything. It was a boycott.
Well, they had people.
And other people, one thing I heard that was good is that gay people went to the stores and had,
Yeah, they're kissing and stuff
yeah,
outside.
had their own.
Another wholly offensive thing.
Exactly. And, I mean, I thought it was a great thing, but I mean, there was no negative things that was going on. There wasn't any chaos being caused or anything. It was just people making their point.
Yeah, it's possible to leave messages places too. I mean, this is something what I do, if I don't mind, I'll take
You were
I'll
on
take my
spec.
little opportunity.
I've been hijacked.
Can I interrupt the stack here, I guess?
Can I reclaim my
one
time,
thing-
please?
One thing I've been frustrated with is actually, I'm not even sure in the last 2 months, we've had 4 people from Occupy Toledo in a meeting.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I was gonna address that.
Yeah, let John
Okay,
go. Let
well, I'm
John-
telling you how I'm personally responding to that, because when it comes down to it, I'm only personally responsible for myself, I'm not responsible for anybody else. I still have, because I'm such an optimist, I made thousands of these for May Day. May Day was not the glorious event that I had hoped it was worth it, but there's a lot of things I was hoping that it was gonna kickstart things and it didn't really seem to do. So I have plenty of these, although I can print them up, so I'm making myself so I have more, but I do have a lot of these. I dropped these, I have hundreds of these. I just go to the grocery store and I go and just put them behind things and drop them places and stuff.
Give me some, I'll take it to the State House.
Yeah, not just one message. I have like 8 different messages that I have. This just be the ones that have happened today. Other thing I've been doing is one of the issues we've been working on or have worked on in the past is justice for Danny Brown. Danny Brown's a man who was wrongly convicted for murder in 1982, spent over 19 years in jail, was freed on DNA evidence in 2002, and here, over a decade later, he has still not been fully exonerated. There's a fund in Ohio for civil compensation for people who have been wrongly imprisoned. He doesn't have access to that because our Lucas County persecutor has decided to just keep him on a list of suspects, even though this case is like totally unelected. They're doing nothing. They're just holding him in limbo forever, so he does not have access to this. So, and there has been actions, although not really since maybe late spring or really early summer. But I've taken onto myself, we started this on May Day, putting up these little stickers, these little half-sheet stickers. I just put them on the poles, definitely around all the county, pretty much the ensuing blocks. I've added these smaller ones recently, just Justice for Danny Brown. So it's a way that you can actually, whatever, I haven't been arrested doing it, I haven't had anybody stop me. I mean, actually, I even put one of those little peace sign stickers on a cop car. That was my first, I got a bus and I got a cop car. So it's just a way of just doing what I call mini media, kind of alternative thing. It's in a different environment, so it's not the same as going to a grocery store and having the whole thing plastered with what you expect is media everywhere. It's a little bit different.
Guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, guerrilla marketing. It's an easy thing to do. It's relatively inexpensive to do.
I think a few of us already do that. I saw you do it on the way up here.
And I think and it has been something where some people who, if you don't have a lot of formal actions available for people to participate, it's something for somebody to feel connected. These are the ones we look on stop signs. You can just put this right under the stop war, stop corporate welfare, stop racism, sexism, whatever.
Stop defacing stop signs.
Stop defacing stop signs. That kind of thing. I mean, that's kind of what I've been kind of reduced to, because I personally would love to see a lot more type of actions, but it just hasn't really panned out. But that's not the end of the world. I'm a patient man. I'm on a 30-year plan. I don't know what that plan is, but it's a 30-year plan.
I got you.
I'm not going away. And if they send me to jail, well, then they'll have somebody organizing ruckuses inside the jail. So,
Back to John.
I was just going to follow up on what you said, and I know Jamie has shared this in the past several times. Something similar to what you're saying, which is each person can do their own thing and do whatever is of interest to them. And my question is, can we have both? Can we have each of them doing their own thing, but also other things that we could do collectively, which would only enhance the whole process? That was one thought. The other was in reference to having a core group of people that support the movement or the cause. I think it's going to be groups like this where we get to know one another, which is what you were championing, where we have, and in Columbus, for example, we had a meeting at the 1-year anniversary, and we've kind of tagged that the Occupy Columbus Jedi Council, so to speak, because those are people we know, people we can count on. And that's a core group, and that's where we get started, I think. If we have that core group, then we can add on more people and recruit is a bad word, but
All the core groups from as many cities that we can pull together.
Yeah, I could start with one or two.
Right,
Jamie.
exactly. We came here because it's Toledo.
We had an anniversary too in Toledo. When was that?
October 10th.
October 10th? October what? 10?
10.
Yeah, and we had our core group, I would say, was there. And it's a core group that,
Well, I take that back. We did.
1, 2, 3,
That's the one time.
4 of us are here, but there were, what, a dozen of us there. And that core group has the potential to locally reach out to a broader group by, say, for example, we have a rally that's coming up this Saturday, which is going to be a rally for a livable economy. That's on the 27th. Then we have another event on Armistice Day, which is 11/11/12. There was an Occupy event last year too for Armistice Day, so this year we're doing something for Armistice Day. And so that it's always tends to be that same core group, regardless of which issue is being dealt with, but that core group has the potential to reach out broader. And so by Black Friday, which it would be the end of November, I think that this core group could reach out to, you know, maybe galvanize enough people to hold a demonstration. And I think that you could do both things, again, to reinforce that. I mean, if it would take literally 4 people to drop some, you know, smoke bombs, for example, as an example of something. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of people to do that. That could be an affinity group. That's something that's, you know, people are going to have to take that risk on their own. But simultaneously, there could be a demonstration going on at Walmart that's officially, you know, organized and things like that. So, yeah, I don't think any of these things have to be mutually exclusive of
Or
one
agreed
another.
upon.
Or agreed upon, right.
Agreed upon, that, oh,
No, no,
Yeah,
but-
or agreed upon.
I don't mean to speak out of turn, who was next?
I raised my hand, I really didn't have
You,
a
I think you should, yeah, you do.
Sean, and then Connie, and
I
then
just wanted to show my money to you.
I'm going to contradict some of the things that have just been stated, because I've previously been a believer in that, you know, we can kind of work together on certain common agreed upon goals, we can also work independently. It's not that I necessarily disagree with that principle, but I think that when you look at something from an organizational perspective, the way many of us seem to be approaching Occupy, including this event, the fact of the matter is we have limited resources. We only have so much time, we only have so much attention, we only have so many money, we only have so many supporters that are willing to get behind a specific ideal in the course of their rather busy lives trying to survive in this harsh economy out here in the Midwest. So we do have to be aware of the fact that while in an ideal world, we would all just be able to hop on board, hey, there's a Walmart action, I like that, I'm going to get involved. There's a fracking action, I love that, I'd like to get involved. I feel that way about everything, and I'm spread very thin, which is why I've not been able to be part of very many direct actions, much less planning and executing them. And I think that my experience is that you don't need a dozen people. I think actually experience says that 2 or 3 organizers who are really committed to an idea can really have a huge impact, especially when you are doing what we've been doing here in Toledo, which Mike kind of alluded to, which is not so much that there's a formal Occupy that meets regularly, but it's definitely solidified the bonds between people. We've made so many friends and networked in such a way with so many people and invited a lot of new people in the fold. The activism, I think, has exploded in Toledo from what it was a year or 2 ago. It was previously very dismal, as I imagine it was in many places. But with Occupy, there was new energy introduced that can now be channeled into a number of different directions just by people saying, oh, there's this thing coming up. I guess I'm going to call so-and-so. I know that they're into that. You get more of that. You build a community around activism, and you just kind of tap into that and see what comes out of it when you want to put on an action. I don't know that that's the most efficient way of doing it, but that's sort of how it's happened here because of our sort of free-form, individualist, and highly restricted resources nature. And maybe that's a model that other places have seen as well, but I know that's how it's sort of happened here.
Connie's next.
No, don't be sorry. No, I think, kind of going off what Michael and, well, we've been talking about, is, yeah, I think it's all, like I said earlier, I feel like a real optimist. I love taking part in civil disobedience. I love the activity. I love to harass the state. That's where, I think it's, for me, it's been very effective for a lot of the groups that but in some states, or in some cities where it may not be so easy. And one of the messages that, we wanted to bring was how we broke through our local, council. And it was only because of 15 or 20 people that made their mind up, committed to meet at our city hall on that one morning last January or February, were we able to really see the end result? We've got something on the ballot. And Heidi has been really a lot more involved than me, but we've been able to secure the trust of our law director simply because we're standing up for the good health of our families and our environment in Mansfield. We don't want the injection wells. And it's totally resonating throughout. Bottom line is the individual, the collaborative, it all works. And so, it's kind of where I was. I had lost sight of a few things going on in this brain. But, yeah. Well, I need the security code.
Oh,
Okay, who's next?
is that our computer?
Yeah, it's occupied.
PINK7?
No, she gets
It's the Wi-Fi.
So who's next?
You're next.
Okay, so, I don't know, just expanding on what you guys are saying, yeah, I think, regardless of how united we are, we all are, to some extent, maybe a part of the solution, and we just gotta just do our own things, but to some extent, we don't need to be that united, and I'm willing to say that, that maybe it's just me that I just see my role as trying to be in the middle and say to city council, I want to be able to say to city councils, I'm trying to help you guys, and we're trying to get them to stop being so dysfunctional, and so to a large extent, these things that people are doing, whether it be putting stickers up or stink bombs, and to me, that's mob, that's not terrorism. Clearly, nobody is really getting hurt, and that is an important distinction to make. But there is also, what I see from both of you guys, and really a lot of people that I talk with, this is this inner frustration, this passion, and this anger, and so you guys are channeling it out, not really bad way, and that's that's good enough, do your own thing, and to me, I'm saying, those guys are not the problem. The problem are the people who don't know how to channel their aggression in this inner thing and do things like the Aurora theater massacre. Now that was, expressing yourself and freedom of speech in the wrong way. And so,
I don't think there's
that wasn't
anything
even
to dispute that. For me, it's my own way of bloodletting. It's like, it's cathartic to get out there because I believe that there are so many rules that they've made up that are just ridiculous. They're wrong. They're ignorant, and they're putting us down, and we can't allow them to do it. But I'm not even sure that that's really, I don't even think.
but I'm saying, you guys can walk the line, and you guys can express yourself as you want to, but,
And we don't need
understand.
anybody's permission
Right,
or
but that doesn't,
anybody's.
that
No.
doesn't correlate with the group, though. I mean, if we're a movement, if we're gonna be a group,
Mhm.
We have to work together and not work, I mean,
Against each
two people going out and doing civil disobedience is fine, but how does that display anything message of the group?
Understood. I understand what you're saying. Did somebody, Dan, Tom?
Well,
Sounds like we're trying to avoid a lot of fears of being arrested.
Right, and I'm not even sure this is a conversation.
Well,
Yeah, it's
I
not
think
being
we're
arrested.
We're browbeating
Some people haven't been
things.
arrested, especially with the stickers, or,
But we're browbeating something I think that it's kind of already a given. We want to unify, or I think that there's a desire for people, I mean, in Cleveland and different parts of Ohio, to unify our group,
Right, but, like I was talking to Josh on the way up there.
unify the people.
It's like we have all these separate groups all around, and there's even communication within groups, but there's no unity of
Exactly.
the groups. And this is what I think is important about this meeting that we had here, the one that we had back in May as well. That we need to have the groups interacting, not just the people interacting in their communities, but the groups need to be interacting, so that if Toledo has a function, you know, we can utilize, bring all these people together and make the day of action.
And make us aware of it.
Not make us aware, make them aware of us.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
No,
Yeah.
we are on the exact same page.
Yeah, no.
But see, we haven't done that over the last year.
Right.
I mean, there's been a couple of events that we've gone to, and we went to give to Unity, and we were the only ones that showed up, other than the people who were
It
putting the event
happens
on.
to all of us.
You know, and it's not a negative thing, but it's really disheartening. You know, that you want, because you can make the effort, but everybody else who says they want to make the effort don't make the effort.
Right. I know, yeah, I see where you're coming from.
And,
Sean was next.
and just let me say one other thing there, and we're having a parade on October 27th.
The armistice.
No, Halloween.
Halloween, oh, that's right.
It's on a Saturday.
Defiance,
Yes,
on a Saturday.
I read that.
You're all invited and encourage other people to come up as well. We had like 30 people from Defiance marched in it last year. Wouldn't it be great if we had 100 this year? You know, from other places, and then we can also, we have, I'm just thinking right now, we could also set up something to where we can all interact and maybe have the day before or even earlier in the day, a meeting with the group and get ready for the parade or something. We can put all that, but I just wanted to put that out there that we're having that and everybody's invited.
Oh, right on.
Sean's next.
You know, when you talk about, I see there's always structural questions about what do we do. I mean, some people want to go out and they want to do things like throw stink bombs, and some people aren't comfortable with that. And they say, well, what does that, you know, I don't think it, you know, the question always gets raised, you know, I'm not necessarily against it, but people in the public will be, so why should we even associate ourselves with there, or where does that leave us? I think it leaves you in the position of having to explain to people why that's not terrorism. All of these things, a lot of what we can't be afraid to do is push things in a direction and force difficult questions. That is, as activists, one of the most powerful things we can do is directly challenge not only the laws, but the public perceptions that we have about things. Is it a bad thing if somebody throws smoke bombs in a big box building? Well, what have those big box companies done for small businesses? What have they done to gut the industry? That's your opportunity to bring those challenges up. And they say, well, I heard a bunch of punk kids threw some smoke bombs in there. And there is an advantage to that because it gets the question going, why do you think somebody would do that? And then you talk about the impact that those businesses have, and you have to get serious about why this is an issue and why people are upset. You can't just say, well, I agree, it was sort of a poor thing. Well, you can. You're free to do whatever you want. I think that that's the point, is that maybe you don't have to participate in those things yourself because you don't agree with them, but I think that you should be speaking about why, you should be defending why people have the perception that leads them maybe to want to do that. Not the action itself, but the motivation behind it. Say, I agree with their motivation, I don't agree with their action. And that's how I would advise those within the community who feel hesitant to engage in those kind of more juvenile things.
I agree.
I think that's how we should pursue the handling of those. We don't always have to agree on different tactics, but I do think we have to stand in solidarity with our motivations, and that's where the strength comes in. And that's actually every time things happen, like even when riots happen, like like what would happen in Oakland sometimes. I would say, you know, I didn't necessarily agree with the route that those took, but at the same time, I'm not going to condemn them because I understand why they're angry, and I do think that anger is valid. The way that they're expressing it maybe isn't my bag, but I'm totally with them in terms of why they're upset. So I take that approach. As far as how to collaborate more, you know, it's very difficult. Right now, I think interest in Occupy has waned primarily because of the lack of direct action. A lot of, anytime you do a direct action, which even can actually include juveniles throwing stink bombs sometimes, as stupid as that is, people like the idea of playing David to Goliath. It's really appealing. People feel very upset. They love an opportunity, even a small one, to strike back. It doesn't have to be in a way that the public is going to run with it and suddenly take your side. People have so much anger and frustration, and you give them an outlet. You say, we will work with you. I'm happy to go and put smoke bombs in a big box building for that reason, because I think that does help somebody relieve that anger and that tension. It helps them live a little easier at night knowing that in a small way they've inconvenienced this thing that they have absolutely no way of impacting. A private company, your job is to sit down and do whatever they're going to tell you to do. You have very little influence on them. You can say you're going to boycott them. They'll find other ways of making sure that they're a successful business. One of the only ways you can strike back is to do little things like that, and it feels so fucking good. If you've never done something like that before, don't underestimate the value of even throwing a little rock that doesn't shatter anything at a huge entity. So I'm all for it. Anything that, especially young people, gives them an outlet. It gets them involved, it gets them interested, and down the road, that's what will keep them hanging around. That will keep them showing up to solidarity, things that maybe aren't as radical. It's giving them that opportunity and that permission to say, it's okay that you're young and you're angry. And as long as you're not, taking out violence against another human being, we can generally at least defend you for your motivations. So I think that, why is it that when we have an event in Toledo, it's difficult for people? Well, what's the worth? They don't see it as a movement anymore. They see it as a couple people meeting and talking like we are now. They don't see it as people taking action. You're not giving them that outlet. And there's always this hesitation and concern about arrest that a lot of young people don't have. I say let them, enable them, empower them to do that, and give them what they want in the movement. And in exchange, they'll give you what you're looking for, which is better involvement.
See, I understand it as a concept, but as a realistic, I don't see it happening. We had a war protest in Defiance. It was every 2 weeks, and we did it for like 3 months. But it didn't generate extra.
That's holding signs. That is not direct action. Everyone hates holding signs. Young people think that is
No,
the biggest waste of time.
I don't know why you'd be condescending about it, because everybody doesn't hate holding signs. And holding signs makes a difference to some people.
To some people.
Certainly
I
does.
agree.
It is
Chick-fil-A did.
information that's being shared.
But I can tell you the general
And
attitude amongst people under 30
it makes a lot bigger point than jumping smoke bombs in a box building and making yourself feel all good. That doesn't do anything to make any changes.
for you. For other people it does. But these are different perceptions. I think that's totally valid.
See, I think this is a forest versus trees thing. We have to decide, okay, anyway, let's.
Yeah, okay, I think with that exchange, my comments are probably all the more relevant. Yeah, I thought a lot about, the unity thing actually, I think is kind of a problematic thing. I would probably use the term solidarity. And it's similar to what Sean was saying, is that, there's a certain spirit to something, an intent, a motivation, and definitely around issues or whatever, we can show solidarity to one another. I use the term intentionally reduced to doing this. I am thrilled. To me, a good day is when almost anybody is organizing something that I can participate in. I am waiting for my body, my warm body, to show up. That's what I pray for every day. And it doesn't happen nearly as much as I want. So I say, if that's what unity is, I'm all about unity. I'm trying to think, actually the stink bomb thing is about the only thing I've heard that I can think of actually in recent memory that I'm thinking like, I'll have to reflect a little bit more whether I want to do that. But if he did it, believe me, I'd be chuckling and rooting him on. I'd be sticking to the man,
Go through the stack, go through the stack.
John, you were next.
Well, I'll yield to.
I just wanted to ask about it. Is that the chalk thing is kind of becoming popular as well? I'm noticing from different cities throughout the country, they're incorporating more chalk use. Which brought up the idea for me, Halloween, when I was a kid, we loved soaping windows because it's very harmless. So we can soap information on people's car windows until they get arrested. As a kid, that's sort of the only thing we were allowed to do on Halloween. It used to be a lot of things like throwing eggs and all that.
Soaping windows.
Well, and actually breaking windows.
This comes down to diversity of tactics.
Soap on
This is the
Oh,
question.
soap on bacon.
I think all of those are great. I do think that, I didn't mean, let me clarify. I do think that there is value to holding signs. I'm saying that from one of the perennial questions that is always before me, because most of the activist community is very old. They're in their 40s, 50s, 60s often, and they're always wondering why younger people aren't more involved. There's relatively speaking. And I can tell you that there's this cynicism. It's like, what does that accomplish? That's been the dominant mode of protest for a long time, and they don't feel it goes anywhere. They're so cynical about it. You have to say, well, okay, well, what would you be interested in? And even if you personally disagree with it, you have to say, well, I'll stand in solidarity with you. You can't just say, well, that's not going to get anywhere, and I don't want anything to do with you, because then you're excluding them, and then they're just feeling cynical all over again. They're like, well, why get involved with something when they don't care what I want to say? We have to be able to bridge the gaps. I think it's important to encourage all modes of activism. I encourage people holding signs, because especially when it's persistent, I do think it has an impact. I think that it creates an effect. I do think even things like just even putting soap on on windows. I think especially
Some people
persistently.
hold the signs, there's so people do that, there's no problem with people,
But
but we all support each other.
But the thing is, people have different ways that they want to do things, and I think that the important thing is to encourage them and to show support for them no matter what they do, including things that we may feel a little uncomfortable about, as long as they're not huge violations of our ethics, which may involve like stink bombs. I totally understand why people want to stay away, but that's the discussion. Is we need to embrace a diversity of tactics and not say that's never going to work. I'm never going to just don't even bring that to me. We need to say, okay, well, here's why I'm going to do it, and I'll show solidarity, and maybe you do the same sometime. That's the kind of method we have to have.
Heidi,
John, did you have something?
No,
Did
did
you
you
give
want
up
to
your
say?
place?
I did, but I was going to yield to you if you had something.
I was just gonna share, one of our first actions in Mansfield was a zombie walk. And there's pictures on my Facebook if anyone wants to go look through them. It was a blast. It was freezing. I was in a tutu and a backless bustier, and we had all these zombies everywhere, and we went running around town screaming Occupy chants, and it was just so much fun. Crazy stuff like that. Anything fun.
Great, yes, that's great. I just want to share that we should spend a little more time thinking about all of the different options that we have and pick and choose our battles, whether we do it individually or collectively, which is where my area of interest is really working. Because all of us, I'm sure, are doing things individually. Like you're doing, I'm doing my own thing there, back there. But what can we do together? And to know that core group that I can rely on, which is part of the goal for this exercise today, I think, which we've partially accomplished, I think. Just so you know, in terms of the city, working with the city legislation, you're probably aware that the ACLU is in the process of filing a lawsuit against them. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
The 906, for the 906.
I understood.
Oh, I'm sorry, see, that's why I always worry about this, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can edit that out at some point, I don't know.
No,
Sorry,
No,
transparency.
okay.
it's out there.
All right, okay, I'll
It's
shut up.
live.
Okay.
Live.
We are,
Because,
Well,
I'm not-
but that's public
I
information
just-
though, that's public
okay,
information.
I was told, but that is an issue. It stays on the record. I'm fine with
just,
it being that way.
I want to say that we're part of this Occupy continuum. Occupy movement is continuing. In some places it's a lot stronger than it is in others. In some places it's a little bit weaker. I mean, look at, there was, I don't know if even people were aware, there was an International Global Day of Noise that was an Occupy action last weekend, and it was extremely successful in Europe, in Japan, in New York City. There was a really good Occupy Wall Street protest, also in Albuquerque, New Mexico, places around the country that we didn't even know was
Occupy Phoenix.
Occupy Phoenix. So there were things happening. It's a little bit, maybe off the Midwest is one of the most isolated places, I think, in America. So we have a lot more to overcome here. But I just think that Occupy is a permanent of the, we've managed to transform the dialogue in America. 99%, that is something that has been adopted by, the trade union movement, by, when Obama came to town here to speak at Scott High School on Labor Day, all the trade unionists had their "We Are the 99% t-shirts on. I mean, we managed to really transform the dialogue in America in a very short time. And I think Occupy will ebb and flow over a long period of time as a movement. But one of the things about the youth and the slogans that you were saying, my daughter's 4. And this summer, we were in New York on Long Island, and we happened to be there at the same time. We were in the Hamptons visiting some anti-nuke folks planning for an anti-nuke rally that was happening, and there was a protest on the most exclusive beach in America. Occupy came and brought in buses from New York City to protest a series of 3 fundraisers for Romney, and the third of which was at one of the Koch brothers' palatial mansions on this beach in Long Island. And so there was this Occupy the Beach protest that was awesome, and we were there. And everybody was chanting, "We are the 99% on the beach." And my daughter, who's 4, breaks into chant randomly, all the time, you know, still from that day, every once in a while, she will just break out with, "We are the 99%," and start marching around the house, you know? So,
And that's a lot more significant, I think, than anybody is willing to, because.
I think we're all united in that, you know.
Yeah.
and it appeals to the youth, that's what I,
Exactly.
you know?
We are united.
They're coming out, they're in the rear, they're coming, and, but this is really good, and I apologize about that, but can I just say something to kind of play out? I think, you know, at some point, you know, a unified voice, a unified bodies, gatherings will be important now, and I just want to use this as an example only. November 7th, okay? If the complaints are regarding the election, complaints regarding the election, if they compile anything like 2004, when we knew at the local level, every city in the state, Toledo had its own, you know, problems. But whoever is elected, you know, there needs to be a rebuttal, you know, somewhere. It looks like, you know, the southwestern part of the state is going to be, you know, very key if there's any, you know, hanky-panky going to happen with this election. But there's going to be, you know, when I say, you know, let's get it together on the state. One thing that we did years ago, and it was a driving protest. It was a guerrilla action that we took about 15 cars, long story short, took over an institution locally that had a few thousand people in attendance, and we gutted we really created chaos. We were able to gut and glut their exit for over 2 hours. We weren't charged with anything. Local law enforcement, they were there to direct the traffic and keep everybody safe, but it was very effective. It made the news. I mean, but you know, and I think we all are coming in from our, you know, these different avenues, but where we all is going to be very, 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 where we all end up, whether it's, you know, the same day, you know, all the unified cities, you know, in this assembly, do something locally, or participate at the harder, you know, the higher levels of but I see November 7th as being something that's probably going to be, you know.
Across my mind, an Occupy election night
Right.
demonstration
Well, we
all
do
across the
need-
country.
There's a call to occupy the election and be in Zuccotti Park on election day. I go to the absentee because I don't quite know if I go, I'll put it out there. So,
But we are going to need people here in Ohio. We need people to close down.
I was thinking at the Board of Elections,
A Board of
all the different
Elections, we
boards of
need
elections
observers.
around the
We
country.
Board of Elections everywhere.
You know, we need people observing the count, you know, at the end of the night, observing the chain of command.
That's actually being done by campaigns.
And it is, but the Democrats are doing some part of the Greene County, or the Green Party
Right.
is organizing.
Did you hear just a scandalous thing about the election? Romney's son
Yes.
purchased a company that owns the machines that are going to be voting. Ohio's going to be voting.
Kissing
The
cousins.
world does make sense.
Yes, it really does.
There are dots.
There are. But if we can get something,
It's incredible.
you know, kind of concrete.
Good
Is there
investment,
something
that's what
locally
I
here
feel.
that people are allowed to vote already early? Is there an
Oh,
early
yeah.
vote?
Yeah, there's
So
a
have
really,
you been there and seen
it's just, I voted die-bold machine,
Brother and
last time
sister
around.
show?
And counted paper ballots.
the parking lot, and did they hand out all this political information on the way into these places?
Well, you have
You have to
to
be certain,
you have to be 100 feet away from
yeah,
the
100 feet
entrance.
away from the door.
I thought it was 50 yards.
No, 100.
100 300 feet.
It's 10 yards, no, that's almost
30 yards, so.
Yeah.
To have any political information.
Right, to do any electioneering.
Hi.
You kind of turn the conversation, maybe to see where we're at, take a temperature check. Do we have anybody who's got dates, proposals of actions to get us all to the Halloween
The Halloween
party
The Halloween parade.
and Defiance?
Just to let, we have a rally that day in here, in this place, October 27th, during the day as well, from 1 to 6.
I think doing something with Black Friday and Walmart makes, I mean, could that be any more Occupy Wall Street-ish than?
It's perfect.
What's that?
I mean, just the Black Friday,
Oh,
doing
sure.
something with Walmarts everywhere.
And that.
And here, if I
and
can
in
give some,
South-
a little bit of advice about the Walmart, because we did a Monsanto thing in front of Walmart, and they threw us out, basically. It was very interesting, I thought, they called the police, and who showed up was the chief of police and a detective. No black and white showed up to have us move. It was very low, you know.
They set the
Very quiet.
brass.
Hey, it was very quietly done, it was very interesting. Walmart was telling us that we're not allowed to be there because there's city ordinances that doesn't allow it. So we said, screw that, we're gonna stay anyways. And then the police showed up and said, no, they want you to leave, so you have to leave.
Because it's their sidewalk
Right,
and their
right.
parking.
So we went to,
Across the street.
we went up and stood on the street instead of in the parking lot, which was wrong for us to do. We should have gone over to the side and still been in Walmart's face, but off their property. So you wanna figure out where the fringe is of what they own and where they're allowed to be, and be there, because they can't move you from the fringe.
I got it, for Black Friday action, all those crazies that camp out.
Yeah.
We are on, why don't we put up our tents?
They had tent, like last year,
At
that was
Walmart and Best Buy, put up our tents.
Occupy Black
and
Friday, they
Occupy
had
Defiance.
tents out there, it was so horrible.
Yeah,
God.
right. They wouldn't know whose tent is who.
Whose tent is whose?
Start putting tents up. But
More power to you, it's like,
there's
it's cold.
already,
You know?
the movement in southwestern Ohio is
They got something
pretty
cooking
solid.
on that Walmart
They
thing.
really do.
Yeah.
And you can always do it locally.
Have there been any strikes in Ohio at Walmart stores yet?
They-
Haven't heard.
Cincinnati, Dayton,
Yeah, I
is
haven't
having a
last-
lot of dispute and a lot of employees
And with a bigger area. it's gonna-
signing on to this, and because where is a warehouse available down there, you know, that, there's huge option, there's plenty of time to really work this.
I really
You can
agree.
work locally at your local Walmart, they're in every corner, you know,
How many do we have? One?
But I think a large part of this
they're along the highway.
organizing of events is getting more people on our Facebook page and getting more organized. And so we've taken steps by opening up OOGA, and you guys are all familiar with that, but I think, we need to do maybe more of that, diversifying into, but uniting like Crack Free Ohio, that Facebook page with, there's a myriad of other,
Yeah, we did a lot with Move to Amend,
Mhm.
trying to, get the whole thing.
Columbus
It was,
was dedicated to that,
we weren't allowed to finish what we tried to get done.
not a lot meeting.
Well, we went out and we got all the signatures and everything, and we were given a date by the Board of Elections.
I remember that, yeah.
And this is the date to get it by. The day before that date, we went and took everything there to them. Well, there was some 10-day earlier event or deadline that the city had set that nobody knew about, including nobody in the city knew about, until after the event was over. And they said, so all the effort that you guys did, you guys had enough signatures, everything was supposed to be on the November ballot, was done for nothing because you missed the deadline.
Well, yeah, and that's pathetic.
Yeah.
yes, that's the bullshit that
That's the
Yeah.
bullshit
we gotta
that we
say.
need to stand up to.
At the very least, get it on the internet, and, if we get our numbers up, it should eventually lead to more feet on the ground.
Right.
So we just gotta be persistent in the fundamentals and getting the word out, and not relying on mass media, because mass media does their thing, which is coming up with the big message that
We're our own media.
thousands of people and
Right.
millions
We
of
are.
people.
Well, I want to say about the whole thing with the action and doing things and everything, I'm all for doing anything. as long as there's a solution at the end. You know, because it's great to define the problem and say, oh, here, you know, this is the problem, let's throw a stink bomb, okay, it's still a problem. But let's throw a problem, you know, let's have the solution to the problem, so that whenever the news comes around and there is a stink bomb that's gone off, and they say, okay, why is this done? You can say, okay, this is the problem, now this is the solution,
And
let's
we
get
put
behind
out
the
our
solution.
own, we put out our reason for.
The information for that Cincinnati-Dayton kind of joint task force or whatever you want to call it, the letter U, W, 4, WM.
Yeah, Larry King's doing
The
it.
number 4.
Before you.
I'm thinking it probably United Workers for
Larry King's doing
Walmart.
it.
I don't know what the acronym stands for.
But we can totally use.
But they're doing a lot of work on that group page.
Behind supporting the travesties, supporting the worker.
Right.
We can do that without, you know, but that might be a way that, you know, that, the solution, you know, solutions are very important. And, you know, and outcomes do matter.
Right.
They do matter.
Because acting without solutions is just acting.
I got it. I think Occupy, during that year anniversary thing, one of the key points that I kept realizing and hearing and getting out of all the different interviews that I watched and listened to was that Occupy Solutions is really, you know, kind of a long-term big picture. Finding how we streamline our communities for us. You know, whether it's like we were talking earlier around the food table, whether it's creating our own money system, our own, you know, but sooner or later, we're the only ones that are gonna take care of us.
Well, change has to come from the inside.
And from.
And think about, and by that, I don't mean you have to be an elected official to make a change. But you can contact the elected officials. You can like get into an elected official space and let them know that there's people behind me that thinks like I do, so you have to listen to what we have to say.
Or you can become elected official yourself.
Right, okay, but that's not the
Exactly.
that's not the only way to participate in our elected government is by being elected. There's other ways for activists to take advantage of the government as well.
For some, that is not.
I was gonna say related to Walmart, well, what's the solution? The solution is close fucking Walmart. So I keep swearing. I love swearing. That's all right. It comes out. I think that is the solution. People are gonna go, whoa, stop. Close the Walmart? That's
Crazy talk.
They're gonna say it's crazy, and you have to be prepared to say, well, here's why. You know, the argument's always gonna be the jobs it provides. Tell them, yeah, what jobs? Those things are terrible. You point out the working conditions, you point out the fact that it
Jobs
actually.
that are lost because.
Exactly, there's a net loss of jobs when a Walmart moves into a town. The documentary, the higher costs and lower prices, do screenings of that in your area around that issue. That's the solution. Do the stink bomb. It makes it to the news, somebody happens to be a contact and points out, well, you know, we're gonna be doing a screening of this film at the library next week. You should check it out and see why people might be upset about it. That's how you wrap it into an actual solution, even though it's essentially just an act of juvenile vandalism.
All right, that's what I'm saying. As long as
There's strategy.
The action is actually irrelevant with the strategy and the solutions behind it is what the important part is.
I
Josh is gonna talk?
Yeah.
It's few and far. It's few and far in between, but no, I kind of like what his idea was about having an organized occupation along with, you know, the stink bombs thing. You know, something like that is going to cause a mass disruption like that is going to bring media attention in some way, shape, or form. You would hope. You know, you shut down a couple Walmarts in, let's say, Toledo or a couple other big stores.
While you're at it.
Yeah. You know, you do something like that, it's going to bring some form of media attention, and why not have an occupation just happens to be there, you know, when the cameras start rolling. You know, it's a good way that possibly we could get some kind of attention to us that on a regular basis wouldn't normally happen.
Did you have something, Jay?
Yeah, considering the solution to Walmart, yeah, I think the world would probably be better off if it was shut down, but at the very least, I think I don't understand why they're not at least unionized. And for that matter, any, you know, leader in any industry should have a little bit of a handicap just to create competition, you know, help promote that. And it's step in the right direction. To me, that's a no-brainer.
So do we have pretty much a consensus that we're gonna focus on a Walmart strategy? Everybody's in up with that?
Yeah,
No, not yet.
in support of,
In support of Walmart in action on Black Friday.
And mutually supporting all these other actions. I heard Jacob might, if he can, get off work on next Saturday, come here and talk about Monsanto and then go back for the parade.
Yeah, I told him I was gonna be driving him
how
down
far
here
is
for
the
that.
finance right here?
About 45 minutes away. On
That way.
24.
10 or 23?
Fraction stuff, nuke stuff, I think we should try to unite those two fronts.
Yeah,
Environmental front.
I have to say, I love what you guys are doing with city council and the fracking thing. I love that. In fact, I'd like to get some more information that you have from there.
It's
maybe-
all, I'll send you a link.
Okay, I
I'll put
appreciate
it
that.
up on our, actually, it's up on the Occupy Ohio.
Is Ohio under a moratorium right now?
They were no longer. And it's something I want to straighten out with you guys. A week ago, I did tell you there was a moratorium. That has ended. So, and at that point, it was to ban the injection well, any more further construction. But that moratorium has ended, and they're going back to old business,
Back to work.
dirty business.
Hey, if I don't mind, whatever, you guys seem to be in touch or aware of the ACLU. Does anybody know why the ACLU never spoke up whenever those Occupy places were being bombarded by police and nothing was done about it?
You might have more information.
The ACLU is actually a very bureaucratic organization. Terry Lodge, who's a big activist lawyer in the area, I've spoken with him at length about it. He's formally a member of it. He's been honored by the ACLU, and he handed in his resignation after that event I referred to in 2005, when 2 dozen people were arrested for an unconstitutional law. While he took that case on for all 2 dozen people, he was on the horn immediately with the ACLU trying to get their sponsorship. They had to sit down and have a meeting and decide whether or not they wanted to do it, which is very difficult because everyone's across the state. Bottom line, by the time the court case came and went, they didn't even have a history. So in the weeks that it took for that to go through, there was no support.
I mean, I tried contacting the ACLU whenever all that was going on. Saying, why isn't anything being done about it?
So,
And
like I said,
everybody else.
it's structural. Now, they're more bureaucratic, they're more interested in challenging certain things. There is some political friction within inside of it and how they handle on the ground activists. They, Terry handed in his resignation at the ACLU since many attorneys I've spoken to will tell you that the National Lawyers Guild is where you want to go for that. The National Lawyers Guild is solid. They're stronger on the coast and a little more sparse out here in the Midwest.
Well, that may be true, but they were silent about it too. Nobody really pushed back. Nobody came out publicly saying that the police need to stop breaking up these encampments. They need to stop with the violence against
The
the
National
encampments.
Lawyers Guild took it all the way, and they won a court victory that said that camping is protected speech in New York State. That's that tents are protected speech. That's a court ruling that was taken on by the National Lawyers Guild.
How do I stop this?
I have in a notebook at home from an action on ODNR property. There was some arrests down there in Columbus. I talked to one of the Green Coat kids, National Lawyers Guild, got his little cell phone number and his little home number. So I'll look that up when I get home, put it out on the internet.
Yeah.
There we go. Got his name, it's in the notebook, I know exactly which one.
That way we all have someone's name, right?
Well, you all have
And
it.
we all
Yeah.
have, there are names, there are plenty of names that we can, I just want to make an announcement. People are watching. Hi.
Hi.
And
Who are
listen,
you? Who's watching?
Who's watching?
I had to shut it all off. But hello, some of you I know, some of you I don't.
The ACLU is pro-corporate personhood too.
Well, they're a democratic wing of the,
I don't know, I'd go that far.
Well,
it seems like,
they're in favor of.
One of our activist lawyers in town, I spoke to him about the thing that was going on with blocking our access to the ballot this November, and he sent me an email, said, well, I appreciate what you guys are doing with the petition. I don't agree with what with your idea behind the petition. You're just trying to embarrass the Supreme Court by doing this.
Well, and the ACLU predominantly tends to take on cases that will get this media attention because they're focused on pushing the issue of civil liberties in a way that addresses it, Which isn't to say that they're doing it just because they want fame for themselves. It says that's their strategy.
Right,
It's
well,
not
would-
something that's gonna win them some notoriety and attention. They tend to shy away from it.
Wouldn't they have gotten a lot of attention if they were like defending
Potentially,
the
but
Occupy
that's the
movement?
thing. You'd think that, but they also probably have reservations about it. They are a little more political minded. The NLG, like I said, is more the real deal. When I was in Chicago for the NATO protest, it's pretty funny. Everybody had scrawled on them in permanent marker the NLG hotline. The NLG is a hotline. If you get arrested, you call them and they will find a lawyer to represent you. They're pretty damn good. So everyone had this number scrawled all over. 20,000 people there. Everyone knew it. Everyone had that number. So if you were in jail, you could just look at yourself and go, all right, I got the number.
John, did you have something going on? Okay.
Okay, can I for fun, I'm just gonna tell you what a few folks are, and they are following us, and they're just as important as we are sitting
How
within
many
this
are there?
room. 5 people right now, which I think is wonderful.
That's cool.
Tickles me pink. But some are saying, watch what you say on camera. Some of them are
Hi,
saying.
Mom!
Hi, Mommy. Some of them are saying, occupy the mind, occupy the possible power to the people, organize like unions do. Cleveland is just said something real good. Where did it go?
Should be able to chat and respond back to that, right?
Well, I'm not fast. I am a late bloomer on this stuff, so I usually end up cutting
You're
things.
better than me.
Justin,
Don't silence
I
yourself.
love Dolores. Keep up the good work, lady. Whatever. Oh, that's 30 seconds.
Cyber blonde.
Oh, Pescar, or Cleveland says hi. You know, they wanted to be here. But I think this is cool. And this transparent, every mission has to be transparent. We're not trying to hide anything.
Yeah, we're not trying to be
ready
the federal
to
government or anything.
face off. And, you know, we have to face off. There is really,
I'm not apologetic for any of the things I say, even if they are more radical. And the reality is that we're probably not important enough to be monitored by anything that's going to crack down.
Yo!
But,
We need to work on that.
we need to work on that.
but you know, the way you do that is you own up to everything and you show that, just do it with some divide.
Hey,
Yeah,
can't
we
say
should try
fuck,
to
you can't
embarrass
say
the
fuck the
Supreme Court,
government.
that's their job.
That's their job.
You can't say fuck, you can't say fuck the government.
Actually, I do have to depart myself.
So,
You're good.
do we have to start getting going?
Well,
We're not going to, we don't have to go to Defiance since we met them.
Okay.
Well, I was gonna stop, if it's on our, is it on our way home, kind of?
Oh, it's about an hour.
It's more so out of your guys' way,
Okay.
I would say. Unless you plan on taking, 6 down,
I had to see
127.
But,
Typically,
Yeah, and
any event where there's potential for arrest, it's usually gonna make itself clear.
Facebook page?
I didn't
Police
find
will
the-
tell you,
the
okay,
documents.
we're,
find the
disperse or you have an opportunity to leave now. That's when people don't want to be arrested, well, they know, so